Okay, welcome back to New Day here on TV3. If you were just watching the video, then you saw that very, 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 very talented young man breakdancing and mimicking that older gentleman as they went along. And today, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about gifted children. To help us discuss this particular issue, we have Dr. Gazy, who's a regular on our set. Good morning, Doc. How are you?
Good morning, Granny. Fine, thank you. How
Good.
are you? How are you, Sonia?
I'm very well, thank you.
Okay, first question. Gifted, talented, special. What are the differences between these particular words when they describe a child?
Yeah, I think when your show, I've said it several times, I don't like all these names and labeling and all that because it makes some people better or feel better than other children or other people, especially when it comes to children. Now, we use gifted children for children who are naturally above, academically above what the other peers or their age. So let's say a child is about 6 and they're performing like somebody who is 12 years old or 13 years old, depending on the area as well. So it could be gifted in maths, gifted in computer, whatever.
Yes.
So depending on a specification, a special area, then we call that child gifted. And it comes natural. You realize that you don't really push or anything, but it's just there. That is a gifted child.
If that's the case, I got to put my hand up and say I've got one. Yeah, my daughter at the age of 4, when she was still in preschool, they did an IQ test on her. She had that IQ of like a 6 or 7 year old.
Right.
They wanted to put her in accelerated learning, and we said no, let her have
Why
her
did
child.
you say no?
Well, we wanted her to have a childhood.
Right.
She's that smart now. She will still be smart in a little while, so let her enjoy her childhood.
See, if, let's say, you had a score here, because, children maybe from 180 score above, or from about 175, 79 above, they are gifted children. So we have mild, we have moderate, then we have high, then we have the exceptional ones. And the exceptional ones are the ones that are over 180.
Are those the ones that are going to university at the age of like 8?
Yeah, and maybe they're just going to read just one thing. Maybe they're able to read a book very well or something. So there's a special area that they're very good. And sometimes I think you said it right with a little boy. He was actually dancing, break dancing and that. And we sort of, I won't say confuse it, but we say, oh, that's a gifted child. Just, they've got a gift in that, all right. But normally we use gift for academic work.
Oh, right.
Children who excel, and we say he's very talented, which he was bang on what you said. This child. So when it comes to like sports and recreational and that, we say talented. And then when it's academic, we say gifted. That's right.
Okay, great. So how do you identify talent in a child? How do you know that this child?
Are we talking talent now or gifted? Sorry.
We're talking talent.
Talent now. Okay. Yeah. As kids are growing, you would see that there are certain areas that they are very particularly interested in. Say somebody who would excel in football or whatever. You realize that anytime there's a program on, or you take them to football events or anything around that area, they show more interest. And if they have to take part, they do exceptionally well. They totally, excel more than children their age, and then they show lots of interest. You'd realize that their knowledge about that particular area is very, very high and very wide. So you have to nurture that. You have to nurture that to let it come out. Because sometimes, a few years back now, parents or the world has developed more. But a few years ago, certain talents were not recognized. I would even say football. When I was young, you want to play football, it's like a no-no. But now parents are realizing that children can be talented in certain areas, especially sports. So you have to follow the signs of the child. I mean, I was talking to a parent just last week and said, oh, my son loves playing drums and playing this. And you can tell that this is a child who loves music. And the child is mildly disability, learning difficulty. But this woman is also pushing the child towards a totally different, and I'll let him go to university and do this. So I allowed her to talk for an hour. And I said, actually, everything you've said, I've just got this paper, look at it. What do you think your son is good at? He says, oh, it looks as if he's really interested in music. I said, yeah, the boy is here. And you can tell clearly that this is where the boy is going. That's where his talent is. But mom is so interested in something that daddy did and was very successful, so let's push the child. And if the child goes to that field, you realize that he'll do very well, because that's the talent. It's very natural. He plays the drums without a teacher or somebody helping him. And even if they do, They do better than kids who have been training. If you see a talented child in a particular area, you realize that with just a little help, they do very well. Compared to a child who go to maybe 10 lessons a week, that child will just go to 1 a month, and you see that they're far better than everyone in the class.
Okay, well, speaking of talented children at the moment, we've actually got an excerpt of some very talented children. Let's take a look and see what they're up to.
South Africa 2010. Let them come and then can they see pain. I want it to be tell them over see a young man. I just with the meetings, I'm so me bad pain. Nancy, I'm a piece of it. Tell me I had me okay.
All right, so that was a quick excerpt there of one of the kids from Talented Kids on TV3. Okay, so Dr. Gazy, in regards to the nurturing of gifted children or talented children, you've already established that some people actually may not recognize what their talent or their gift is and may nurture them in the wrong direction. Let's just say you have actually identified it. What's the next course of action? I mean, how are you meant to nurture that gift or that talent for the child to be able to flourish?
Let's talk about like the gifted child. When you recognize that your child is exceptionally good, academic, they bring their work home, they're doing very well, or even they read maybe a child, like you said about your child. Maybe your child is about 3 years old and is reading books for about 8-year-old. You go to the school and you work with the school. You have a plan in place. Don't just sit back and say, oh, my child is good, so I just leave it. And, even though I said, why did you do that with regards to staying in the class? Because sometimes kids like that are forced to mature so quickly, and then even though they're going through the classes so quickly, they are not really mature.
That's right.
So you need to give them time to actually grow properly. So such children, you work with the school and everybody that needs to be involved. So it's not just about them getting the high scores in academic whatever, because such children also have other faults. Most of gifted children, you realize that their academic work is excellent, but they have things like emotional issues. They easily cry. They're very exactly. They have other faults. So you need to look at all of that and work with the school, because most of them end up being depressed as well, because if they don't achieve what they think they should achieve, it can cause a problem. So it's about working with the school, working with people around them, and as a parent also supporting that child to achieve it, because such a child will do very well, extremely well, but if what needs to be done is not done as well, it can be like a child who is an average child but has got other tuition going on, other teachers and that helping, and they are really pushing, but they would do extra well.
Yes.
If you help them, you give them a little push. Exactly.
Is it necessary to remove a gifted child from whatever school or class they're in and take them to a special school, just to keep them challenged and stimulated?
It depends. If because sometimes they're in a class where, if you go to, let's say, a class where it's a very, very large class, 30 or over 25, over 25 in a class, maybe the teacher, and there's just one teacher. The teacher hasn't got time. So those below average will be suffering, and those above average, like the gifted child, will be suffering. So unless, as I said, it's always important to make sure that, okay, this child, you can test the child at school, you can tell the school, test my child, what do you think? I think that, you need to have some written document or something to show that, listen, or you can do the test in the school. My child is very good. I think my child is excellent. And then my child is not performing in class the way that they need to, because they're way above the class.
Exactly.
So we put something
holding them back.
Yes. So sometimes they call it extension work. The school can give, or the class can give, extension work. So even though they are in that same class, they'll be doing different work. If that is not happening, then I would advise that you take the child from the school. But don't keep moving the child from one school to another, because then it will not stabilize them and it would affect them, emotionally, socially, because they are stable, they have friends and everything, you keep moving them. But you have to work with the school. And you need to research before you you put a child in a school. Some parents just say, oh, because it's close to my home, or because somebody has recommended. You need to do a bit more before you put such a child in a school.
I want to talk about pressure.
Right.
Because any talented or gifted child, once that talent or gift is recognized, then obviously it's somewhat of a burden upon them.
That's right.
They are pushed to certain extents, or even abused to certain extents, in order to, well, some say, out of love, we're forcing you to do this so that we can get the best out of you.
Yeah.
But to a child, obviously, these interactions from teachers, parents, doctors, psychologists, all the rest of it, all adds up to pressure.
It does.
And can have an adverse effect.
Massive one.
Okay, so how do we stop that, or how do we ensure that even when we do recognize that a child is talented or gifted, we make sure that we don't put them in a situation whereby this talent or gift ends up being wasted because they crumble under the pressure?
Right. I'll go back to the video about the talented child or the talented children. You've got children who can dance, children who can sing, but I think parents, you rightly said, get really excited about that. And you see children, back in Europe, children whose parents will just take them to music lessons or dance lessons like 10 hours a day, right after school, and then they don't go to bed until very late, and it runs through the weekend and everything. You put the child right off. They may be talented, but then they've got to be able to socialize with other friends. They should be able to do, put it this way, normal things with normal children.